Good morning. We are reading The Wheel on the School by Maynard de Jong. Pictures by Maurice Sendak. We are on chapter 14, the tots in the tower. Linda and Jan are up in the bell tower. All the school children are fanning out on the roads that they looked for a wheel. They're out looking now for the little kids. And Lina and Jella are walking along the dike. They raced out of the village in the direction of old Dalva's turned-up boat. Just beyond the village, the remnants of an ancient, dilapidated pier jutted a short way into the sea. All that was left of it was a row of jagged, uneven piles sticking above the water like the worn teeth in an old man's mouth. But it was a temptation for children to crawl over the jagged piles to the pier's end. There were dangerous gaps in the pier and jagged holes where piles were missing. Oh, but Linda and Jan were too young to go out on the pier and jump the gaps, Lina tried to reassure herself. She just thought the thought, and there. She grabbed Jella's arm and stood pointing, speechless. Something white floated on the water in a gap between the piles. Something white. White! Oh, but the children wouldn't be wearing white, not in winter. It was awful how you scared when you were worried and anxious. It's nothing, she managed to say. I thought I saw. She didn't explain. Her relief left her body too limp for talk. Oh, it was nothing, she said gratefully again. Jella was still looking where she'd pointed. Nothing, Jella said indignantly. It's storks. Drowned storks. He sprinted to the pier. Lina couldn't run after him. Her whole body felt loose and disjointed in her relief after her big scare. Oh, how that floating white had scared her. Jella had said storks. Lina found herself running. When she got to the foot of the row of piles, Jella was racing over them, jumping the gaps. Now he stretched long and flat and let himself hang down. They were drowned storks. One after the other, Jella pulled them up by their dead wings and laid them on the piles. A somber Jella came slowly back to Lina, a stork dangling wet and lifeless from each hand. And Giannis said, Jella was almost crying. But it was the newspaper that was right. They drowned in the sea, and there won't be any storks. Come on, we've got to find teacher. Show him. But Linda and Jan. Oh, yes. Jella looked down at the storks. Yeah, that's right. He stood torn between his duty and his need to show the teacher and the other boys his awful find. He half stooped as if to lay the two storks down on the dike. You go on, he suddenly said. I'll run and find the teacher. I can run like anything. I'll come right back. He didn't wait. Holding the storks high by their long legs, he stormed up the dike and ran hard along the path. Lina stood staring forlornly after Jella. She half turned as if to go on alone. Her skirts fluttered in the wind. She could hear the lonely sound. The finding of the dead storks, Jella's desertion, the loneliness of the sweep of windy dike and sea. It was all suddenly too much. She whirled and tore after Jella. Jella, wait! Jella! She sounded so sharp and shrill. Jella must have thought she had found Linda and Jan, maybe drowned too. He stopped and then came running, the dead stork still in his hands. He stopped again and waited for Lina opposite the tower. Now there was her sister Lina running back to that big Jella again. Jella had run away from her with the storks, but those weren't the storks that had come flying over the sea. Jella and Lina had gone and pulled the wrong storks out of the water. Linda, up in the tower, peered excitedly between the louver boards of the big opening in the bell loft. Jella and Lina got two storks on the dike. And I see them, she told Jan. That made Jan come sliding out from under the bell. Where? He asked, even before he got to his feet. Oh, you've got to peek through the boards. She pointed to the louver boards. Jan drew back. Don't be afraid, Linda mothered him. Linda will hold you up. She helped him climb. Jan clung to the boards and peered down between them to the dike. "Oh, I'm high," he said, startled. He tried to scramble down, but Linda had both her hands against his back. "I'm holding you," she said encouragingly. "Do you see them?" "Yes, and they've got the two storks." "They haven't either," Linda said indignantly. "The other two are standing in the sea. Do you see them, standing in the sea?" "No," Jan said. It made Linda so impatient with Jan, she decided to tell Lina. "Lina," she called from the tower, "you've got the wrong ones." "Linda! Linda, where are you?" Lina's sharp call suddenly penetrated the high loft. "I'm here," Linda yelled back. The wind, soughing between the slanting boards, seemed to beat her words back at her. "Where?" Lina yelled. "Where, Linda? Tell me just where you are." "I'm up here, and Jan's going back under the bell. Can't you see me?" "Under the bell?" Lina's words came shrieking back. "Are you way up in the tower?" "Yes, and so is Jan." "Linda! Linda, is there a piece of stone up there? Go find a piece of stone and hit the bell with it. Hit it hard." Linda looked around the bell loft. There were all kinds of broken stones that had crumbled from the great walls. She picked up the biggest one. She had to lift it with both hands. She staggered to the bell with it, but when she tried to fling it against the bell, it just dropped. It was so heavy. It hit the rim of the bell before her toes. Bong! A great gross bong came roaring out of the bell. The sound swelled and circled and filled the whole loft. It scared Jan. He came squirming from under the bell. The sound still echoed all around them in the loft. Jan looked up, listening to it. He liked it. He was laughing. It frightened Linda. What had she done? She backed away as far from the bell as possible and ran against one of the openings in the tower. "How did you do it, Linda? How did you make it bong?" Jan asked. The awed Linda pointed to the big stone. Then Jan picked it up with both hands and hit the bell and hit it again. Bong! Bong! Everybody would hear it all over. "Now you did it!" Linda cried. "Everybody heard it. Are you going to get it from your mother?" She pointed out the board-covered opening as if to prove it. It was so. In all the nearby fields, people stood looking up at the tower. On some of the roads, boys came running. Down one road came a man and two women running toward the tower. The teacher and both their mothers. "Now you did it," Linda whispered. "Here comes your mother." Jan started to cry. Now Lina shouted from right below the tower. "Jan and Linda, stay right there. Don't try to go down. The teacher is coming. Mother is coming." The teacher? Both their mothers? Linda looked desperately around the loft. "Your mother's coming too," she told Jan. "Oh, you're going to get it. You rang the bell." "You did it first," Jan wailed. He began to cry hard. Mouth wide open, crying with all his might, he stumbled to the trapdoor. He took one horrified look through the opening and down all the ladders and all the deep lofts below. His crying died in his mouth. He backed away from the ladder, but when he turned, he saw the bell and began to cry again. Linda cried with him. They were both crying so hard they did not hear the great iron door to the tower open far below them. They did not even hear the teacher and Jella coming up the rickety, squeaking ladders until they were in the loft right below them. Then it was too late to do anything. The teacher found them sitting side by side on the dusty floor, backs against the bell, crying with all their might. "Well, well," he said, "what a high place to sit and cry when there's nothing to cry about. Look, Jella's here too, and Jella and I are going to carry you all the way down piggyback. Who wants to ride piggyback?" Linda stopped crying and stretched her arms up to Jella, so Jan would have to ride the big, strange teacher's back. "Just shut your eyes and there'll be nothing to it," the teacher said. Linda obediently shut her eyes. All the way down the ladders, she could hear the teacher coming on behind with Jan. The teacher was saying all kinds of nice things to Jan, but Jan just sobbed, "No," to all the teacher's endless questions. Linda kept her eyes shut. To Linda's amazement, many people had gathered outside the tower. Everybody. And everybody was asking questions. Everybody was talking at one time. It was bewildering. Now her mother scooped her up and kissed her all over her dirty, dusty face. Jan's mother was doing it too. And nobody was angry, and everybody was talking. Everybody was around except the two white storks. They were lying on the dike. But how could she tell Lina in all this confusion and talk that they were the wrong storks? Her mother was hugging her so tight, and now her mother was carrying her home like a baby. So was Jan's mother carrying him. All the others came on behind, even the teacher. How could she tell Lina anything? But she was ready at the first chance to tell Lina that she and Jella had gone and found the wrong storks.